Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the approval of the regular agenda. I need a motion to approve as presented.
I have a question on the agenda, Mayor Carr.
Sure.
Okay, at this time, we've told we have an emergency meeting. I have several questions here. Who in writing asked for the emergency meeting?
I did.
So you signed in writing for an emergency
Based
meeting?
based on the email that I believe you and Lauren sent out.
That, yes, we had a regular special meeting posted with a 3-day notice, so the citizens of Grant could be here at 6:30 to attend there. Now, I see 3 of us said we can't probably make it at 6:30. You have a special emergency meeting. I want to know what constitutes the emergency that we're having an emergency meeting, because you've been given adequate. In fact, I talked to, last month I asked to put on the agenda the Charter Commission for discussion so we could discuss the timing, sending it in to the state auditor. You chose and voted against putting it on the agenda last month, so you had the opportunity to learn about it. Last week, I talked to our city attorney, called their office. I talked to, Nick wasn't available. I talked to his secretary, asked him to please call back so that I could express that you needed a 74-day notice. So you had well over a week to get back and call a meeting. It didn't have to be an emergency meeting. And I believe at this time that the city council meeting, a August agenda in July, where the citizens can't participate. You see, our citizens aren't very many more available to get off at 3 o'clock here today, when we actually had one scheduled for 6:30. Tina, I've not seen an excuse why you 3 members can't make it to a 6:30 meeting where the citizens, we had one properly.
Well, I don't think it's an excuse. I think, I sent when I could come to the clerk, and you can't communicate, and I was told this was the time, and this was the best, and that's what I did. The attorney had drafted something saying we need to get this done. We obviously need to get this done so we can...
It is not constituted as, this is not an emergency. You've had plenty adequate time. I've notified the attorney's office to call back. This is not an emergency meeting. The only thing that should be on this agenda for an emergency meeting is the reason that this was called for. It should not have a regular city council meeting at this meeting.
Jeff, and then the
only
attorney.
question should be the ballot question, which is pretty straightforward, which did not require an emergency meeting. Actually, if you read the documents,
All right, Larry, I understand.
the city administrator could have done it. Well, at that time, I will not participate.
All right, we're going to let Jeff go. We're going to let Jeff go.
In an emergency meeting, so I am leaving at this time. But just for the record, you were having a illegal emergency meeting, in my opinion. This will be probably brought to our city or our state attorney general's office for review. We'll probably direct our city auditor to go review your policies and procedures.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
I will not participate. I have not been provided any. I have been not provided a packet.
Nick, would you like to talk, please, Nick?
Yeah.
Nick?
Your packet, everybody has your, except for mine. I have not been given a packet.
We'll just keep doing this. I don't really care.
This time,
Is that what you call a hammerhead?
myself from the meeting.
Okay, thanks. Nick, what would you like to say about that?
Well, the emergency is, in fact, that the election has to be set. There's no question about
You
that.
could have done it 10 days ago, Nick. You had proper time.
I have a comment too.
Lack of action on your part. You're putting our city in jail.
Out of order. Thank you very much. See ya. Nope. Nick's talking.
The minutes are not correct.
Next,
Second of all,
next,
this is a legal
you're-
meeting. Third of all, the clerk
We'll just keep doing this.
Vote on it, dummy, because the clerk submits it. I'm also leaving too because you're a bunch of ignorant rumble.
Thanks for coming. All right, Nick. Why are we doing this?
Because you're an idiot.
You're up in a cloud or
Okay, Nick, go ahead.
Is there a meeting anymore?
Yeah, we got 3.
3 out of 5.
There's still a quorum.
So,
Based on the date that the charter was submitted, we have to hold an election within 90 days. 90 days puts us at an end date of October 18th, which is a Sunday. I presume that we're not going to have an election on a Sunday. And even so, we would have had to have gotten our notice to the county on Tuesday, the 4th, which means that we would have had to have the decision complete by Monday of next week. assuming that we're also probably not going to have the election on a Friday, which would be a non-traditional voting day, City Council needs to take action either today or tomorrow to set the election. And contrary to what's been said by the council members, it is up to the City Council to set the special election. There is no election unless the City Council approves the action of scheduling the election, which I would contend is a mandatory requirement, but still a requirement nonetheless. So regardless of what folks think, the City Council still has to take action or an election doesn't take place. There was a request by the two council members who have left for a special meeting. That request was submitted to the clerk. It's my understanding that the clerk polled the council, and a quorum of the council is not available to meet tonight at 6:30, thus rendering our action today or tomorrow at the very latest necessary and an emergency. Otherwise, we can't have an election within our 90-day period. And I can just about guarantee the council that if we had suggested that the election take place on Monday the 19th or Tuesday the 20th, the 91st day or the 92nd day, everybody in this audience would be screaming that we violated the law because we've not set an election within the 90-day period required by state law. So that's the basis for the emergency. If the council wants to table everything else that doesn't relate to the election, I have no problem with that. However, a reading of the law does not preclude you from considering things that are not related to the emergency. It simply indicates that you need to record discussions and acts based on non-emergency items, which we would do in our minutes, which our clerk administrator would take care of. But certainly there's nothing, it doesn't appear that there's anything else on the agenda that would require a pressing matter or pressing action other than the petition that was received in the clerk's office, which relates directly to the election again. So I would suggest that the council continue to move forward with this meeting so that it can take action on those items requiring action by state law, those related to the election. And if the council so chooses, it doesn't have to, but if the council so chooses to table the rest of the items until September, that would be just fine.
Okay, well, we need a motion to approve the regular agenda as presented.
So moved.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? No noes. So that passed. A motion to approve the consent agenda. Any motion? Need a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? No. Okay, that passed. Okay, I guess then per the attorney, I think I would make a motion to table the September meeting, to the September meeting in consideration of road ranking. I need a second. There's no discussion on that.
Of which, Tom, sorry?
We're moving along. We're
Yeah,
moving
where
on.
are you at?
We're moving right now to Phil here.
Attorney, or, okay.
Let me have a question
go
on
ahead.
that quickly, please.
Well, there actually is no well, I didn't get a second, so I guess there can be
There
discussion.
can be. You don't have a second. That's correct. We've got three different topics here that, frankly, we've got two council members that are gone at this point. Apparently, we weren't voting at the right time of the day on their election. So I would like to table all three of these our professionals here, the city planner, the city engineer, as well as the city attorney's items I and I2. If we can do that, or do we need to take these individually, Mr. Mayor?
That's why,
Thank you
okay.
very much, sir.
All right, so I'll go back to my motion to table the
Second.
consideration of the road ranking system.
Do you have a second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll make a motion to table to the September meeting discussion of business of seasonal land use applications, or definitions, excuse me.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Excuse me,
Oh, sure.
for clarification, the first motion, wasn't that for the discussion of McCusick?
Oh, I'm reading it upside down. Okay, sorry, backwards or whatever. Okay, this is here. Okay, so the first one, well, we did the road ranking, so we need to go back to McCusick. So I'll make a motion to table discussion of McCusick Avenue maintenance options.
I will second till September.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're going this way. All right. We've got seasonal land use applications. Okay, how about accessory buildings? I'll make a motion to table that till September.
Second.
Got a second? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, and now we're on to our city attorney, Mr. Nick Vivian. My understanding about the vacating a couple of CUPs is that we should open it and then make a motion to continue that public hearing in September, is that correct?
No, I would table it.
Just table it, just flat out table it? Okay.
I would table because we've noticed the hearings for next week's meeting, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so you just have to table the entire hearing, and we'll just renotice them.
Okay, I'll make a motion to table that too.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that one's tabled also. And then consideration of zoning enforcement, we can table that also. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I'll make a motion to table that also till September. Need a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And now we're down to a couple of items that we need to take care of. Mr. Vivian.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have in your packet a memo from me dated July 28th. Outlines the process with respect to the setting of the special election related to the charter. On July 16th, the Charter Commission moved to recall the charter that was previously submitted to the city. It then reconsidered the submission of the charter and voted by a 6-3 margin to send the charter to the City Council for the scheduling of a special election. The submission was executed by each of the 9 Charter Commission members. We've reviewed the charter and compared the language and powers proposed in the document to the relevant Minnesota statutes, and at this time it appears that the charter is in proper form for submission to the City of Grant electorate. Minnesota Statute 410.01 directs that upon the delivery of a draft of the charter by the Charter Commission to the city, the council shall cause the proposed charter to be submitted at the next general election occurring within 6 months, or here, if there is no general city election occurring during that time, the council shall cause the proposed charter to be submitted at a special election to be held within 90 days after the delivery of the draft. The charter was delivered to the city on July 20th. Minnesota Statute 205-16 provides that at least 74 days before every municipal election, the municipal clerk shall provide a written notice to the county auditor including the date of the election and the matter to be voted on. The county auditor then in turn notifies the Secretary of State of the notice of election. Based on the requirements of Minnesota law and the Charter Commission's delivery of the proposed charter on July 20th, the council must establish an election date of not later than October 18th for the special election. However, October 18th falls on a Sunday. The next date that would be available for an election would be Friday, October 16th, which is the last business day prior to October 18th. And if the city is to provide at least 74 days written notice to Washington County, notice must be received by the Washington County Auditor by Sunday, August 2nd. If the council decides to schedule the election on a more traditional voting day, Tuesday of that week, which would be October 13th, a notice must be to the county auditor today, or the 74th day before the election would be tomorrow. Kim has talked with the county. They are aware that we are considering the matter. We've advised that we will be transmitting notice to the county this afternoon after the hearing as to the date selected by the City Council, and thus this matter is before you for consideration. Again, the setting of the election is mandatory under state law. The charter appears to be in proper form for submission to the voters. The ballot question, very simply, will be, shall the proposed new charter be adopted? Yes or no. There are 2 options. And then there are certain publication requirements that go along with this process so that everybody has the opportunity to read and become familiar with the charter. So at this point, the matter before the council is simply the date on which the council would like to schedule the election. And then with that, it's my understanding that the county will also be conducting this election. And so with a date to establish the election, a motion should indicate that the city will contract with the county for conducting the election.
So what do we have to do first? Pick a date?
Yes.
Is that before we make a motion? correct? Or do we make a motion on the date? Make a
Well,
motion.
the
that-
motion will be on the date, but you should discuss first
Right.
which date you want to have the election
And
on.
again, the dates, options were,
They're right here.
The options, the earliest you can.
16th,
Yeah,
October 13th.
the earliest you can do it at this point would be Tuesday, October 13th.
Okay.
You could certainly have the election on Wednesday, the 14th, Thursday, the 15th, or Friday, the 16th. Of course, we know that elections are generally held on Tuesdays, but certainly there are no restrictions in state law as to on which day, which particular day of the week special elections can be held.
is that going to be an issue with the county? Is that, doesn't give them as much time, or do you think there's a?
I think the only issue with the county is that they don't want to see it on Sunday. But
Okay.
Kim might have a comment
Kim.
there.
Talk to the county, they would prefer Tuesday the 13th.
Okay.
And there is no issue with the day before being Columbus Day. So
Oh, good point.
they work.
Jeff?
I would prefer that as well. People are used to voting on Tuesdays. This is traditional. I think in matters such as elections, tradition should probably prevail, would be my opinion.
Okay, so the proper form of the motion would be that we would approve the special election for October 13th, and also in the motion, say that the county will be handling the special election?
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
All right, also move.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Question.
Jeff?
Nick, because the charter was submitted to the city in proper form, there was a legal duty for this body, the council, to vote on this and to set the election. Is that clear? Am I absolutely clear in that understanding?
Yes.
Okay, so there was no way that the election was independently scheduled all by itself. The council actually had to vote on this motion, move the election forward, and notify the county with that 74-day window. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That is correct.
Yeah. There's an interesting question as to what would happen if the council didn't schedule an election, because the law says that the council shall cause the matter to be set for a vote at a general election or a special election. So the council really doesn't have any discretion here. There's a mandatory obligation to schedule the special election.
So even with two of our members having left, since they did not like the scheduling of our meeting, which was going to do exactly what they wanted anyway, because we do have 3 out of 5 members, we can just go ahead and schedule this election. That will be a legal scheduling of this election, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? No. Okay, that passed. Okay, so it's the 13th. All right, next, Nick.
The second item I have, and Kim can probably speak to this in perhaps a little more detail than I can. However, the city has received a petition requesting, in conjunction with the proposed election, or now the scheduled election, requesting a referendum question on whether to disband the Charter Commission. And it's my understanding that the petition has been submitted through the city to the county, that there have been a verified 188 signatures on that particular petition, which is sufficient to meet the threshold requirement to place that particular question on the ballot at the special election that you've just scheduled. I just lost my train of thought. In any case, the requirement is 5%. That number has been met. The statute that allows for this question to be on the ballot provides that a charter commission can be disbanded when the city is a statutory city as opposed to a charter city. And so, again, the council really has a mandatory obligation to accept the petition and move it forward to the election. However, this will fall as the second question on the special election. The reason for that being is that if a majority of voters at the election approve the proposed charter, 30 days from the election, the city becomes a charter city. And you certainly can't disband a charter commission for a charter city. A charter city is required to have a charter commission to manage the charter and to work through any amendments or any changes to that charter. And so the first question will be the question of whether or not the electorate votes to approve the charter. The second question will indicate that if a majority of voters do not vote to approve the charter, then the question shall be, shall the Charter Commission be disbanded? Simple as that. I forwarded to Kim a resolution similar to the resolution that was used previously. Did you bring copies of the resolution?
I have a copy here too. You need it?
Yeah, if you would. And the proposed resolution simply indicates, it's entitled a resolution authorizing a referendum to discharge the City of Grant's Charter Commission pursuant to MnStat 410.05. Reads, whereas a petition requesting a referendum to discharge the Grant Charter Commission pursuant to MnStat 410.05 sub 5A2 was filed with the City of Grant on or about, and I believe that's today's date, or was it?
Yeah, it was today.
Okay. And whereas the petition contained approximately 188 signatures in support of a referendum to discharge the Charter Commission, and whereas MnStat 410.05 sub 5A2 provides that in a statutory city, if a petition signed by registered voters equal to a number to at least 5% of the registered voters in the city requesting a referendum to discharge the Charter Commission is filed with the city clerk, an election must be held on the issue at a general election or a special election pursuant to MnStat 205.10. If a majority of the votes cast support the referendum, the Charter Commission will be discharged. And whereas the city administrator clerk has verified the signatures contained in the petition and has certified that the petition has been signed by registered voters equal in number to at least 5% of the registered voters in the city, and whereas upon receiving a sufficient petition, an election must be held on the issue at a general election or special election, and whereas the duty to conduct an election based upon the filing of such a petition is a mandatory obligation of the city, now therefore the City of Grant hereby receives the petition requesting a referendum to discharge the Charter Commission pursuant to MnStat 410.05 subdivision 5A2, and shall submit the question of discharge of the Charter Commission to the registered voters of the City of Grant at a special election which shall take place on October 13th, 2015. Be it further resolved that the question submitted to the electorate shall be as follows. If the proposed charter is not approved by a majority of voters, shall the Grant Charter Commission be discharged? Yes or no? So with the petition being submitted to the city in proper form, it's the city council's responsibility now to accept the petition, move that particular question forward as part of the special election, and presumably, if everybody is in agreement as to how the question should read, adopt the ordinance so that we can advise the county appropriately.
Jeff.
A couple of questions for you, Nick, regarding the election process. So let me read that question again so that everyone understands that. Here's the question that will be found on the ballot if it is not changed by the council. If the proposed charter is not approved by a majority of voters, comma, shall the Grant Charter Commission be discharged? Yes, no. Those are your two options. Now, my question to Nick is this. I assume, correctly, I'm sure, that this will be the second question on the ballot. How are the logistics of this carried out? I understand the county is going to be handling this election. So first, the votes for this will be set aside completely, while the actual charter, the adoption of the charter or the non-adoption of the charter is counted. Correct? I
think mechanically, I think the county will go through and they will vote. They will count both questions.
Okay.
But for all intents and purposes, if the charter is approved and passes, then the results of the second question are moot.
Completely moot, because at that point it would be illegal to do anything with this question, correct? Okay, very good. All right, I just want to make sure that everyone understands that. This question is much, much clearer, and I'm glad it's done that way.
Okay. So what do we need, a motion to pass this resolution then? Is that correct?
Kim has a comment.
Oh, Kim.
I just want to clarify on the fourth whereas in the resolution, where it says the city administrator clerk has verified the signatures. That verification is with the county. I do not verify signatures. They verify the signatures as far as them being registered voters.
Do we need to amend that or what?
No.
Okay.
I just wanted to be clear.
Jeff?
No, that's clear to me. I thought I had a question, I didn't, thank you.
Okay, so we need to make a motion to pass this resolution, then per state statute, we don't really have a choice, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this is the resolution we're passing, 2005-13? Okay, I'll make a motion to pass resolution number 2015-13.
Second.
I got a second from Tina, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, that's passed also. Okay, going through, we got new business, unfinished business. There's also discussion of the draft city planning commission manual. I'll just make a motion to table that also till the September meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, so that's tabled, and I think, unless anybody wants to talk about the rest of this, the next thing I need to hear is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Need a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.